everybody, I'm Julie. I'm an indie filmmaker. You can check out more about me below if you want to know more about me. You're about to watch a really great video where I'm just going to talk about empathy versus judgment. And I think it's better to be empathetic, but I understand judgment. So this is just to help you process when to be judgmental, when to be empathetic, and you're going to find this video to be very helpful. Here's the deal. Maybe about a year or two ago, I got an email from a dude. I never replied because I didn't know what to say. Like, legit. And I'm an indie filmmaker, so not a psychologist or whatever. I'm going to sum it up. This was a gay guy. He grew up religious, spiritual, engaged with his fiance. His fiance used to be a party boy. He partied. He had a good time. And the guy who emailed me, he was having trouble processing his fiance's past of being like a party boy. And what I want to say is, I'm going to quote a band called MXPX. So here's my answer. There's a band called MXPX, and they have a song called, I think it's called In the Past, and it's basically, it's in the past. It's in the past. They're a pop punk band, but talking about how the past is in the past, which means it's over. So maybe you need to process your past and stuff like that, and for sure, like abuse or trauma, you need to process it. But when something's over, it's over. Stick a fork in it, it's done. So I guess here's what prompted this video. We're talking about empathy versus like judgment. And the first thing I want to say is philosophically speaking, I think 99% of the time it's important to be empathetic. So I know LGBTQ people who got kicked out of their churches, kicked out of their homes by their parents. They have trauma. So they get this trauma for being LGBTQ, and then they go running into the arms of the LGBTQ community, and maybe they get into the party scene. And what I want to say is, in my 30s, I'm 41 years old. In my 30s, I started partying with some gay guys. Gaysians is what they're called. Gay Asian guys. That's very specific. Gay Asian American guys. I had a roommate, really great guy. Gay Filipino American guy. And really sweet guy. We moved out here to California, kind of together, a year apart, but this is the idea to move to California from Virginia. And then through him, I ended up, I don't know, I guess I needed, in my 30s, I needed a safe space to drink a lot of alcohol because I was processing childhood trauma. That's not the best way to do it, not by drinking alcohol. Therapy is the healthy way to do it. But in my 30s, I drank a lot of alcohol, and I guess I needed a safe space to drink alcohol. So I started hanging out with a lot of gay guys, Gaysians, and drinking a lot of alcohol. And it was a party scene, so we let each other drink a lot of alcohol. And it was definitely, I don't recommend it. Like, I feel empathy for my liver, which processes alcohol. So, but, I was processing childhood trauma. So the first thing I want to say about being empathetic, like, most LGBTQ people have trauma they've dealt with. Off the top of my head, they've dealt with abuse, physical abuse, that kind of thing. I know a lot of LGBTQ people who have dealt with physical abuse for being LGBTQ. Off the top of my head, a lot. Queer women, lesbian, bisexual, gay guys, there's just a lot of trauma. There's a nuanced trauma that comes with being LGBTQ. Of course, straight people have trauma. Of course, human existence is universally tough. Empathy towards the human race, definitely. But I just think, I get why LGBTQ people party. And there's even there's a band called Blink-182. They have a song. And in this case, they're talking from the perspective of teenagers talking to their parents. But there's a line in one of their songs that says, if we're fucked up, you're to blame. And in the context of the song, it's teenagers talking to their parents. But I would say, if LGBTQ people are fucked up, this might be controversial. It's straight people who are to blame. So that is to say, it's all the fucking homophobia or blah, blah, blah. They have to deal with it. And Whatever. And I'm 41. I'm old school. So I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s. So I'm talking about old school. Maybe it's easier for the younger generation. And I live in the Bay Area, and life is awesome here. This is the mecca for LGBTQ people. So yeah. So I live a good life overall. Yeah. So I have no issues with the fact that I'm LGBTQ. But it was a long journey. So. I grew up in an abusive home from ages 12 to 19. I would pray to Jesus to turn me straight, and Jesus was like, "No, you're gay." But it's okay to be gay, and there's tons of books about what the Bible really says about homosexuality, and it's very, I've made videos about that. It's sketchy. It's very sketchy. It's very slim. There's like 6 or 7 or 8 verses that maybe reference homosexuality, but not really. So homophobia is bullshit. Okay. Yeah. Okay, but small towns, small minds. That's an MXPX song, but small minds. Some people are small-minded or not quite enlightened yet. Okay. But I think I was in the LGBTQ party scene, and what I want to say also, I'm a very deep person. So the reason why people party is like it's fun. It's fun. And then it's you can check out a little from your trauma or from your unhealed trauma, and it's fun. You drink and dance. I mean, it's really fun. So it's fun. Especially if you have had to deal with trauma. So I think it's important to be really empathetic. I know like LGBTQ people who were brutally kicked out of their church. I mean there's trauma with being LGBTQ. So I know LGBTQ people who wanted to seek a relationship with God or enlightenment or all that kind of stuff. And then homophobic straight people were like, fuck no, get out of here. And it's like, well then LGBTQ, then you go to the party scene. So, but also the party scene isn't, the Gaysians I used to party with, they were all sweethearts. They were all sweet guys. We just let each other drink a lot of alcohol, like way too much alcohol. We let each other do that because we just did. So, but I would say be empathetic towards people, because it's just the best way to go. Don't ruminate. Rumination is when you repeat in your head a memory or a thought that's painful for you. And don't ruminate. It's not good for your mental health. Easier said than done, but try to find like a catchphrase. Like I used the MXPX song, "It's in the past, it's in the past." And it's a great song about how it's in the past, it's over. Not taken away from anyone's trauma, but it's like, it's time to move towards the future. It's time to be in the present. I forgive the past, because it's the past. It's in the past, But at the same time, like, if you have unhealed trauma from the past, you have to heal that. So I think empathy is good. I think judgment is bad. I think judgment happens naturally all the time. And I think there's critical thinking skills and there's judgment. And I think 9 times out of 10, don't judge people because you just don't know their story. And most people have trauma. Almost every single human being has trauma. You don't know their story. Matthew Perry passed away. He's Chandler on Friends, and when he passed away, I cried because Chandler, I grew up watching Friends, and in real time, because I grew up in the 90s, so I watched it on Thursdays at 8 o'clock. Anyway, I'm listening to I'm listening to Matthew Perry's book, and it's like his story is, it's heartbreaking, he had abandonment issues, and yeah, so it's just, I get it. He was a rich white guy. Matthew Perry was a rich white guy. But I'm listening to his book, and he was a straight rich white guy, but I'm listening to his book, and he's Chandler. I'm feeling empathy towards him in his story. So, you just never know someone's story. So try not to be judgmental. Try not to be too hard on people. You know what I mean? And just try to find a catchphrase in your head. If you're ruminating, if you're thinking of a thought that makes you feel bad, try to find a catchphrase or a song or something that helps you kind of rewire your brain where you're thinking about the stuff that makes you happy. And please understand, like, it's in the past as far as, you know, because it sounds, with that email, it sounds like the guy he's engaged to is a really great guy. He used to party, and then to me, it sounds like he's in love, and they're engaged, and they're going to be married and do that thing. Yeah, it's in the past. So try not to ruminate it on too much. Try not to be too judgmental, but just because I get why LGBTQ people party. Like, I get it. So I partied, you know, and I'm pretty squeaky clean, but I partied. I drank a lot of alcohol. I'm not recommending that, but it happens, you know. The other thing I want to say is, like, I had a friend, and he was a Gaysian. That's a term, gay, Asian American. That, for some reason, you know. And we hung out for a year or two where every time we hung out, we were both intoxicated. And then I got to the point where I had to stop. I was like, okay, this isn't good for my liver. Like, I was drinking like a lot, so I had to stop, and I kind of stepped out of the the gay guy scene. But like I said, I needed a safe place to drink, right? So, and that was definitely a safe place to drink, gay guys. But where no one's going to try to hurt you, you know, when you're drunk, that kind of thing. But I step away. I got out of the party scene, and fast forward like a year or two later, and I went to this like LGBTQ like spirituality group thingy on Zoom, because it was during COVID. And so I had this one gay guy. I'm gonna call him like Nathan. I'm making that up. That's not his name, but yeah. And keeping it anonymous. So yeah, we hung out for a year or two where we were both intoxicated every single time. I got out of that scene, and fast forward a couple years later, I joined this LGBTQ spirituality Zoom group, right? And I'm in the group, and I see Nathan, this gay guy I used to party with, and I was like, oh my gosh, Nathan, is that you? And he's like, yeah, it's me. I was like, what are you doing in a spirituality group? Like, you're a party boy. Okay, I mean, I said that with love. And I was like, you look great, you know? And we may have snuggled. We were drunk, and we may have snuggled or whatever. But that's not sexual. So, you know, you're drunk and you're partying, and then you just, whatever. Okay, so anyway, we're in the Zoom group, and it's LGBTQ spirituality group. And so I was like, oh my gosh, you know? And he's like, hey, let's talk via Zoom after this group thing. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So after the group thing, we talked one-on-one Zoom. And I was like, oh my gosh, how are you? And it's interesting because we talked about how for a year or two, like, I was like, this is the first conversation we've ever had with each other where we're sober. And then we both talked about how we were spiritual now, and like relationships with God and that kind of thing. And I was like, Nathan, like, I never thought of you as spiritual. And he's like, you know what? I wasn't. And then he's like, but he said his journey to God or spirituality, whatever, he was like, you know, I was in a bathroom, and he said he felt the presence of God, and he said he was sober, but he felt God saying, he didn't hear a voice, but he felt God saying, like, hey, you have to stop. Like, you have to stop this partying thing. And he really got into the party scene where, like, he said he got used to, like, people ODing on a regular basis and, like party. And so, anyway, but he said, like, he said he felt the presence of God, and God was like, you have to stop partying like this. If you keep partying like this, you're not going to, like, there's drugs and substances, and he's like, you're not gonna make it if you keep doing this. And he felt the presence of God, and he's like, whoa, in his bathroom. He's like, what was that? And then after that, he became like vegan, or he started eating healthy, and he started praying, and he got really into his spiritual side, and he was always a sweet guy. In the party scene, he was always a sweet guy. But when we talked one-on-one, it was just like we both, during the global pandemic, got a little bit more back into our spirituality. And we had such a great conversation. I was like, holy crap, he went from partying is fun. I'll still drink sometimes. For medicinal purposes, I smoke weed sometimes. During the global pandemic, I discovered marijuana. But partying is fun. It's fun. I'm not going to say it's not fun. I still party a little bit, but not like in my 30s, it was like I was drinking way too much. I was trying to drink as much alcohol as I possibly could in my 30s, but it's like now it's not a big deal. But so I still party and have fun, but not like in my 30s. And so with Nathan, I'm using a slang name, but when I met him, he was like, he was like, you know, he had to get out of like the party gay guy scene because he said he just got used to people ODing. He said there wasn't like a lot of depth in the friendships, that kind of thing. So anyway, we had a really nice chat one-on-one via Zoom, and how he got out of that scene. And I'm following him on Instagram. He is a flight attendant now, and he's just doing really well. He's a great guy. And so anyway, so anyway, here's my 3 main points. Always be empathetic. Try not to judge people. You know, there's that saying, don't judge someone until you walk a mile in their shoes. You know, and it's hard to be 100% empathetic. It's hard to put yourself in someone's shoes 100%, but try to walk in someone's shoes. And finally, the last caveat is, you definitely always want to, I hate that saying, hurt people, because it sounds like when I hear people say that, it sounds like they're excusing shitty behavior. But I think you don't have to turn there's judgment and there's critical thinking skills. I'm going to use a very silly example. So let's say someone takes a pillow and they're just and they're at a party and they're hitting people with the pillow, and it's like rude. And that's a very silly example. I've never seen that happen, but you know, let's say someone's just hitting people with a pillow and you're like, well, hurt people. And it's like, no, this asshole needs to stop hitting people with a pillow. It's not a pillow party, whatever. So it's like, you can be critical of behaviors like, hey, I love you, but we're taking your pillow away. Or you can keep your critical thinking skills on for a matter of safety, keeping yourself safe, but you don't judge. So you can empathetically set boundaries. You can empathetically divorce someone with empathy. Hey, I love you, but this isn't working. So you definitely set boundaries, keep your critical thinking skills on, but just don't judge people. You don't know their story. And everyone has trauma. Every fucking human being on planet Earth has some kind of trauma. So just let's try to be empathetic and that kind of thing. So if you meet someone amazing, you have hit the jackpot. So so that's my answer about judgment versus empathy versus judgment. Always be empathetic, don't be judgmental, and try to walk a mile in someone's shoes. But keep your critical thinking skills, and definitely you always want to set boundaries. It's healthy to set boundaries, and there's a good book called Boundaries on how to do that. Okay, so that's my thoughts on judgment versus empathy. You definitely want to go with empathy. Yeah, okay, thanks so much for watching. I'm Julie. I'm an indie filmmaker. You can check out my website below. Thanks so much.